lines I write, I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped, but it's no hype. From this height, it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here, holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love, and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario on stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. So we're happy to be back. What do we got? Wednesday, April 26, 2017. Very interesting time indeed to be alive. We've got a lot of stuff going on with the news, and as always, geopolitically speaking, we're back on the verge of brinkmanship. This is something that we experienced several times with the administration of Barack Obama, and it has apparently become the norm under Donald Trump. Who has come into office his first 100 days under a fog of illegitimacy. And everybody's saying, oh, well, Trump's a Russian puppet, and Putin put Trump in power, and Russia. And of course, so Trump, to prove that to tell everyone in the world, hey, look, I'm not a Russian puppet. Well, he goes and he bombs the Syrian government, which, you might as well have been bombing Russia, basically. That's a direct hit on the Russian Federation. And so, we've got a proxy war going on there that's been ongoing for, a long time. This stuff predates, I think, even George W. Bush. Of course, Obama kept it going, and now Trump is the next guy in office. But we got to remember here, we don't want to give Trump too much credit. We don't want to give Obama too much credit. The government is a big machine, and what we're dealing with here, I think, to be more accurate, is the deep state, right? We're dealing with the deep state when it comes to these foreign policy things, the endless empire, the war on drugs, the war on terror, all these things that are just like never ending and consume a huge chunk of our productivity as a nation. Those things don't really have to do much with the president, although of course there are symbolic things the president does with those things. But, this is the deep state carrying out these policies. And the president, you get in power, you may think like maybe Obama thought he was going to come in and he was going to start, legalizing marijuana, labeling GMOs, and, ending the wars and stuff. And then quickly he learned, oh, shit, that ain't happening. And, oh, by the way, I'm bailing out Wall Street, and so you quickly, I think these presidents quickly get a grasp for what's going on. And Trump, maybe Trump wasn't wanting to go along with that, but he is now. Obviously, he is now. And we've noticed the Russian story. Where is it? Where'd it go? Where'd all that stuff go about Russia meddling in our election? Where is all that coverage? Gone. No longer there. because now that Trump has been straightened out, I guess you could say, by the deep state, they no longer have to try to act like he's illegitimate. Now they're going to pretend like he is legitimate because, well, he's bombing people. And the next entree is North Korea, unfortunately, which is just an appetizer, I guess, really, when it comes to the bigger picture, which is, the main course is China, who is, the only other nation who can actually compete with the United States right now militarily and economically and all the other things that we're competing for. China is really our main competition. Russia is a scapegoat. We pretend like Russia is a threat, but they're not, because Russia has a tiny economy, a shrinking population, aging equipment, small army, very small budget militarily. China, on the other hand, has a giant army. They just launched their first aircraft carrier today that they built themselves. They had another aircraft carrier, but I think it was built by Russia or something like that. Someone built it for them. But China just built its own homegrown aircraft carrier. So, let's not pretend, let's not give the propagandists their win here. Let's not let them pretend like we're trying to liberate North Korea. That's not what this is all about. We don't care about North Koreans, just like we don't care about Iraqis. We don't care about Libyans. We don't care about Syrians or Yemenis or any of those people. We don't care if they die or live. We don't care if North Koreans die or live, right? According to, not me, not us, but our government, right? But every now and then they tell us, okay, well, it's time to care about these people. And North Korea is the one that they're telling us now, oh, North Korea, their government is so bad and it's so terrible and we got to protect them from their government. But it's all a lie. It's all a lie. It's not about North Korea at all. It's about China. In the same way that Syria is not about Syria, it's about Russia. And these are simple concepts that can be grasped once you start looking through the propaganda and start seeing the real geopolitical agendas that are going on, because they tell you one thing and of course they're doing something else. And so we're going to be talking about a bunch of that stuff tonight. Let me introduce the guy that's going to help me knock this hour out, our amazing journalist, Jake Anderson. What's up, Jake?
Hey, man. It's funny that you brought that up about how as soon as Trump got with the program and started bombing other countries, you're right. We haven't heard as much on the media about him being in cahoots with the Russians. It's almost as if he had to prove to them that he was going to, get with the program, be a part of the military-industrial complex, push their initiatives, and it seems like, even that night when it happened, you had Zarik Ferrari, or whatever his name is, from CNN, saying this was his first night as president, or Trump has arrived, he's officially the U.S. president, and there were multiple other media talking heads that were basically praising that bombing. And yeah, I think it's singularly disturbing that seems to be the mark of a president, is to bomb a third world country.
It is. And yeah, I mean, ever since that happened too, there hasn't been this, there was this huge war between Trump and CNN. That's gone to rest too. CNN is giving him a hard time. Trump isn't giving them a hard time. It's back to the same old stuff.
Yeah, that's weird.
Very, very, blatant things going on here. So today there was Jake, first let's talk about this article you wrote yesterday, because there was a bunch of people freaking out about Gotham Shield, which was this military drill that was supposedly had been planned for, it had already been in the works for over a year, but there was a nuclear drill going on over in New York, and then also they shot a intercontinental ballistic missile from here in California, which they said, this is the type of missile we could use to hit North Korea if we wanted. And people were kind of freaking out about this because, that there tends to be this, I don't know, weird quote unquote coincidence where when they have these government drills at the same time, a lot of times some like weird bad shit tends to happen. Looks like we may have emerged from this thing unscathed. But Jake, tell us about this Gotham Shield thing, and what do you think the reasoning behind it was? And obviously, with all these tensions going on, do you think they're trying to use that in some way to negotiate with North Korea and China and stuff, or what do you make of this?
Well, I think it's a bunch of different things, but it's pretty hard to discern the ultimate goal of these kind of military posturings, at the very top. But what we do know is that Gotham Shield is, I think it's still going on actually, a disaster preparedness drill, and it was basically they were simulating kind of the response to a nuclear blast over Manhattan and New Jersey. And it was a bunch of different agencies, tons of agencies, FEMA, Department of Defense, FBI, Department of Homeland Security, about 3 or 4 others actually. And they were simulating a large-scale terrorist attack at the MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And basically the premise of the drill was the detonation of a 10,000-ton nuclear weapon over New Jersey. And then kind of, so I think it was just kind of testing how different systems would react to the bomb, and then the subsequent electromagnetic pulse that would knock out communication grid. And, one wants to think that it's there's drills all the time, military drills. There's huge military drills all the time. And, this one kind of started looking and sounding kind of like Jade Helm, which was in 2015. That's how people started kind of reacting to it, was basically anytime there's large training movements of the military, especially FEMA, anytime FEMA is involved, if FEMA as much as sneezes, people start talking about, World War III, and we're already talking about World War III. That's in the zeitgeist right now, which is why, to me, this is, strange timing, although, like you said, it had been planned for over a year. So it can't coincide with the latest North Korean provocations. However, we've been posturing with North Korea for 15 years. So I think any kind of long-term plan to run a drill regarding a nuclear blast would naturally conjure images of North Korea, because they are the main country antagonistic towards us that has a nuclear weapon. Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. Iraq doesn't have one. Afghanistan doesn't have one. Libya, Syria, Yemen, these countries don't have nuclear weapons, but North Korea does. They simply don't have the ICBM long-range missile needed to get it here yet, most likely. That's at least what most military people believe, is that while they could strike Japan or a nearby country, they don't yet have the technology to get it to the U.S., though they think that could change within the next few years. And so there's controversy. How dangerous is North Korea? I don't think they've attacked anyone recently, but it is ironic to me that we've broken the bank militarily over Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and whatnot. And these are countries that don't really pose an existential threat to the U.S. In fact, I would argue they don't really pose a threat at all. I mean, these countries, ostensibly harbor terrorists, but, they're not posing any kind of major threat to the U.S. And yet here North Korea is sitting there with very warlike rhetoric sometimes, and they have a nuclear weapon. Now, I'm of the opinion that they are not a threat. I don't think their leader wants to die. I don't think I think if we mess with him, he could. So, and the U.S. is talking right now as if there's going to be some kind of preemptive strike against North Korea, and that's when he might do something. So if we want to push him, so this is just all a backdrop for this drill. And North Korea has been running all these military tests. They've been testing missiles and whatnot, and every time they do, it takes the news, creates a news headline, and so there's just this back and forth that's going on. And Gotham Shield, to me, and of course there's conspiracy theorists who think that it could have been posturing for a false flag operation, and there's many people that believe in false flags. I think some of them do exist, most certainly, and I don't know if this was posturing for one. I don't know if every single one of the attacks that have happened is a false flag. I mean, I do know for years I've been tracking the training drills that go along, and it is a pretty eerie coincidence of how many times there is a terrorist attack or some kind of large-scale murder or shooting that coincides with a military or police drill of some kind. This includes 9/11. It includes the London bombings. It includes the Aurora movie theater shooting, the Madrid bombings, Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech shooting, the Boston Marathon bombings. All of these major attacks involve some kind of major drill going on the same day. Some of them are military drills, some of them were police drills. And in some of the cases, the drills were almost exactly what the event was. And so it starts to beggar the imagination. I mean, it really starts to make you start doing mathematical equations in your head, or, what are the damn chances of this? What are the chances that there could be a drill every time there's a terrorist attack? And there's actually more than the ones I listed. But, having said that, we don't have any kind of proof right now of false flags. It's just kind of this tool of the deep state that is probably being used for ideological opportunism. It's probably not the only country that's doing them, and it's hard to get a handle on it. But whether or not this was intended to be anything like that, the effect it's had is one of fear, and that's what I think is going on right now. Is that the U.S. government has an invested interest in keeping us afraid. If you remember, in the years after the 9/11, they had the terror color alert, and they were always telling you, oh, the terror alert is at red today, or it's at yellow. And I think they stopped doing that during Obama's years, I think. But it was just blatant fear mongering, really. And so drills like this act in that same fashion and gets people scared. It conjures up images of a nuclear bomb. It's actually very, a lot of people...
Think about this, man. You bring up a great point there with the fear factor. Not to bring up Joe Rogan's old TV show. Basically, dude, Trump got elected on fear. Trump's whole campaign was successful because he ran on fear. He ran on the Muslims are going to kill you and the Mexicans are going to take your jobs. That was Trump's winning hand.
Right.
So to think that Trump comes into office, he's having trouble establishing his legitimacy. He's one of the most unpopular presidents since polling began. And the only thing that he's done so far that people got happy about was him bombing a country. Well, what the hell do you think he's going to start doing? Like, he is going to put the fear mongering into high gear, and he's going to start bombing countries. That's what he's going to do. To
Right.
distract everybody from his conflicts of interest, his family ties, his business, all the lawsuits, all the other crap, all the baggage that Trump has. That all goes down by the wayside when we start trying to fight a war with North Korea.
Right. And imagine if we're attacked. Imagine if there's a terrorist attack. I mean, get out of here. That's it. I mean, he's got it. You know, that would be basically carte blanche to just do, you know, full blown attack. The whole government always comes together. Republicans, Democrats join forces. The media, of course, becomes a full blown trumpet for the State Department. And you know, even Noam Chomsky recently came out and warned that Trump could do some kind of false flag. And you don't normally hear Noam Chomsky talking about false flags. And so the fact that he's talking about it, I mean, I think everyone right now is just kind of holding their breath and just praying that there's not some kind of terror attack. I mean, not, you know, for the obvious reason of the loss of life, but, you know, that's how someone like Trump, you know, the fears of him becoming some Hitler type figure, that's where that comes from, is if there was some kind of terror attack and he was given impunity to strike down and defend the people, because you're right, he's had a bad 100 days. There's no way around it. I mean, he's just blow after blow after blow. All these court judgments against his immigration ban, the failure of the healthcare repeal, you know, the different advisors of his that have been embroiled in this kind of Russian, you know, plot. I mean, it's been a bad 100 days. And yeah, you're right. The one thing he did that everyone was applauding him on, except his own base, interestingly, was dropping a bomb on Syria. So I think
it almost seems like the Hillary Clinton Democrats were like cheering it on too. It's
oh yeah, no, that's exactly what Hillary wanted. In fact, I think the day before he did this,
the same day before he dropped the bombs, Hillary Clinton went on TV. She came out. It was like one of her first public engagements since the election. She's only had a few, and she went on TV and she's like, "Yeah, we should be bombing Syrian air bases." And a few hours later, it's like, "Oh, Trump bombed a Syrian air base." It's like,
yeah, I bet that made Trump. I bet that made Trump supporters real happy. Let's do what Hillary Clinton. Let's do what Hillary Clinton says. You know, I'm sure they love that. I'm probably told you, but I was all over the InfoWar and Breitbart forums the day after the Syrian attack, and it was just, I mean, it was, the comment threads were just, it was 100% vitriol. People were not happy. And which makes it all the more interesting that, and then of course he came right, you know, a week later or whatever, he dropped the biggest, you know, non-nuclear bomb ever on Afghanistan. This is just the first 100 days. It's going to get more. This is going to keep happening. And I think Trump has probably realized that in order to get reelected, he's going to have to abandon his base and join the neoliberal, neoconservative deep state. Sound familiar? That's exactly what Obama did. He came into office, he abandoned his base, and he became the puppet of the deep state. And that's exactly what, and we predicted this would happen, and it's happening.
You could win once as a populist, right? Obama won as a populist. Trump won as a populist. I mean, there's our elections are definitely turning in the direction of populism.
As a populist reformer, you can, yeah, like you can come into office saying, I'm going to change a bunch of shit. Yeah. But then you realize you can't.
Exactly. And so, like, when Obama came in, here's what happened. Obama came in as a populist. He said he was going to fix a bunch of stuff, end the wars, and, stop the government from spying on us. And he said he was going to do a bunch of progressive things, right? He came in. Reality set in. He realized that wasn't going to happen. He bailed out Wall Street, and he said, "Okay, I'm I'm going to run with these social issues, and I'm going to legalize gay marriage, and I'm going to do a couple of things like this, and we're going to hopefully get reelected, and I'm going to get help from the deep state and the media, and they're going to help me get reelected, and the Republican Party is going to help me by running Mitt Romney against me during the Occupy movement. You're going to run a guy that's worth $400 million during the Occupy movement. So yeah, the Republicans helped him get reelected too. And that's what will go on here with Trump. Trump comes into office as a populist. He's going to come in. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. He's going to take out the globalists. He's going to do all these different things. And then reality sets in. He's like, shit, all I can really do here is bomb people. Like, that's pretty much the limit of my power.
Yeah, he's just going to have his pet issues, just like Obama. His pet issues will be anti-Muslim rhetoric. He'll probably pass some token immigration reform things.
Yeah, he'll probably increase surveillance.
He'll increase surveillance. He's going to give huge tax cuts to the rich. He's going to slash some, government programs aimed at the environment. He's going to, and he's going to do basically just a few basic things that will keep his base happy. What will be interesting is, I don't think he's going to be able to build the wall, and so it's funny to me that they still insist they're going to be able to do it. And because that's a big thing that his base wants, is that damn wall. I just don't think it can happen. And so how many things will he renege on before his base abandons him? Can we keep having these popular candidates come into the presidency and then go back on all their promises? How many times will that happen before people are just so disenfranchised that they just stop voting entirely? I don't know. Are we getting to that point?
Well, that's a good question, man. I think I do agree with the previous sentiment that we've talked about here on the show before. And as much as I hate to admit it, Trump's extremely active supporters are more principled than Obama's in many ways. I think Trump lost when he bombed the Syrian government. I think he lost because a lot of the people, his extremely active base, like the Alex Jones InfoWars type.
Yeah.
When they went and bombed the Syrian government like that, everyone knows that was like a direct blow against Russia. And one of the reasons he got elected was to not go to war with Russia because people are trying to not fight World War III. And when he went and bombed the Syrian government, I think he lost a lot of his super hyperactive base. I mean, he still got a lot of his base, if not most of it, but he lost a hyperactive section, which is probably the one that's the most effective. And so he's not going to have that benefit going forward, unless he earns it back, which I don't really see that happening. Now, I think an interesting question to look at is how are the Democrats going to respond to Donald Trump? Are they going to allow him? Are they going to do what the Republicans did for Obama and allow him to get a second term? Is he even going to last his first term? I mean, we're still in some uncertain times here. I do think that he's been kind of captured by the deep state, and he's going to do their bidding at this point. They're going to leave him alone. I think the Russia rhetoric is going to kind of tail off, and I think the media is going to be a little softer on him and leave him alone a little bit more.
Unless he goes against them. Yeah.
And we'll know right away when he does, because then there'll be a bunch of bad news about Donald Trump. But are the Democrats, I mean, looking now at the Democrats, dude, I mean, they're still in disarray, like really badly.
Yeah, I was just talking to a friend about this. I'm going to have Lou on the show tomorrow night, and
great one.
I'll be very interested to hear his take on the state of the Democratic Party, because I mean, look, Obama came out of nowhere, so it's not like you can always predict, who the big candidates are going to be, but I just don't know who they're going to run. I had a friend suggest maybe Al Franken, which is a very intriguing idea. to me. I actually was quite a big fan of Al Franken before he started supporting fracking and Hillary Clinton, and he's become he's become more moderate and whatnot. But he's definitely a champion of anti-corporatism, and he has been a very vocal advocate of taking down Citizens United. So in some ways, I respect Al Franken. So he could run, maybe Elizabeth Warren. I think she'd be a strong candidate. But, what if they ran Hillary Clinton again? No, I talked to someone who thinks, or it's DB. DB thinks that they're going to run Hillary Clinton again.
If they did that, they might as well just run John Podesta.
Oh my God! I mean, can you imagine if God, that would be the worst. That'd be even worse than the last election.
Yeah.
Is it just be outright anger? I don't know what the Democratic Party is going to do. I don't know what they're doing. I don't think there's anything they can do right now. They're so our entire government is so hijacked by special interests and this symbiosis of military surveillance and corporatism that we refer to as the deep state. It's so hijacked by that I don't really know what an elected official can possibly do. There's so many problems. There's so much disagreement on how to solve them. The Democratic Party, which traditionally viewed itself as the party of the people, the party of the working class, they're no longer seen that way. They're now seen as part of the same elitist establishment that, is, funneling money into the military-industrial complex for wars and whatnot while eviscerating the middle class. And I don't know what they can do to earn back a large chunk of people that is completely disenfranchised.
It seems
myself included. I mean, I don't really, I don't know who they could run that I would, as an ex-Democrat, I suppose I would consider voting for Elizabeth Warren, but it would be holding my nose because I mean, it would actually be just a symbolic gesture on my part that I haven't completely given up, because I don't think that they can change anything. I don't think anything is going to change until humans evolve. And
here's the ironic thing for me is, I look at the Democratic Party, but let me first get this point out of the way. What I do see as something positive and an interesting development is the surfacing of these divides within the parties, because I think throughout the 90s and prior to that, maybe even, I'm not that good with politics, contemporary politics, like pre-90s and stuff, but there was a cohesion in the government for a really long time, and I think what ushered in this big divide here was, I guess, the Tea Party movement when that first hit, like before it got super co-opted by like the Koch interests and all that stuff. The Tea Party movement started off as like a grassroots conservative kind of small government, liberty oriented movement and stuff. And then of course it got co-opted or whatever. But there was that, and then there was like the Occupy movement, and then there was the Bernie Sanders phenomenon that really drew out a divide in the Democratic Party. But I see these things as positives because maybe in the early 2000s, and looking back at like the vote on the Iraq War, that was like in the Senate, it was like what, 99-1 or something. Like everybody supported the Iraq War. Almost everybody in Congress supported the Patriot Act. That stuff wouldn't fly right now. I mean, they'd probably still pass, right? But it wouldn't pass like with an overwhelming majority like it did back after 9/11. And I see these as positives. I see the Freedom Caucus in the Republican Party, which, Justin Amash and Rand Paul and these kind of guys, I see them as positive developments that shows that there are parts of the government that are not just an apparatus of the deep state, or are not just completely co-opted by corporate interests. And then in the Democratic Party, you got people. Of course, Bernie Sanders isn't technically a Democrat, but you got Bernie Sanders, and then you got people like Tulsi Gabbard, who I think if I was to cheer on a Democrat to run against Donald Trump in the next election, I would say if I had to pick anybody from the Democratic Party, it would be Tulsi Gabbard. Now, the ironic thing is that Democrats are trying to get Tulsi Gabbard to resign because she doesn't want to go to war or, increase the Cold War against Russia. That's the candidate I like, and that's the candidate the Democratic Party wants to get rid of, and so I guess that is pretty ironic. But the Democratic Party is in such disarray. I mean, the one guy they had one guy that was going to be, the guy that was going to come in and tear shit up for the Democrats, which was Cory Booker, who I happen to be related to. He's like a distant cousin of mine, apparently. I recently found out. But he messed up on that healthcare vote, which would have lowered healthcare costs, and he got crucified for it. So he's out of the picture too. So the Democrats, that was like their only guy, and he had a major, trip up, and so I don't know if he can even recover from that. So we got Democratic Party in disarray. They may run some bullshit campaign when Trump runs in 2020 and allow him to get a second term, and so we may be stuck with 8 years of Trump, judging by the way these guys are handling things. And I don't know, will this finally lead to a third party? I mean, we thought that this last election was going to be the straw that breaks the back of this two-party system. We thought it was going to be the Republicans. We were like, oh, Trump's going to rip the Republican Party apart. Well, the Republicans are at least slightly more cohesive at this point than the Democrats. I mean, they're both in disarray, but I mean, was this last election enough to end the two-party stranglehold on the system? I guess we're going to find out. And the French elections, which just happened a few days ago.
Very interesting.
Yeah, interesting developments. The two leading candidates, which are going to go into a runoff pretty soon here in I think in like a week or so, are both not from their two parties. France has kind of a similar had a similar political landscape to the United States, albeit they had more, independent parties that have somewhat of a hold in politically speaking. But they typically had like a two-party system. And both of the presidential candidates that are going into the runoff are not from the main two parties.
They're almost identical to Trump and Clinton, except switch the genders. Yeah.
And so they are from different parties, but at the same time, they're not much of a different answer. The guy that's in charge now, Francois Hollande, the guy is in the Socialist Party, and he's overthrowing governments and doing extremely aggressive foreign policy, and he's got a police state at home. I mean, the guy, judging by what most socialists run on, the platforms that they run on, this guy is not your typical socialist. He's more of a neoliberal type of guy. Anyway, so in France, you got Marine Le Pen, which is kind of a Trump-type candidate, very, right-wing, xenophobic, scapegoating type of candidate, running on fear, anti-Muslim and stuff, and not really presenting much else new other than economic nationalism and stuff like that. And then the other guy, Macron, I don't know how to say his name right. I'm not very good with French. But this guy used to work literally for the Rothschilds. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, the guy is not, he's an independent, quote unquote, but the guy is, he's deep state as hell. He worked. He's a globalist. Yeah, he worked for the damn Rothschilds. So, we don't talk about the Rothschilds on this show very often, but this guy, actually did work for the Rothschilds. It's ridiculous. So in France, now we have to be careful about this. Look, France received 2 candidates from outside of their two-party system, but both of these candidates they might as well have been Republican and Democrat. You know what I mean? Like, it's not much different. So we have to be careful about fake, like this illusion of choice that I think could be given to us, where maybe in the next election it's like, well, the Republicans suck, the Democrats can't get their shit together. Here's a third option, but then they offer us up a third option that's extremely co-opted as well. You know, like, we have to be very careful about that and not saying, oh yeah, let's try a third party, and then we elect a third party guy and he sucks, and then that takes all the wind out of the sails of the third party. You know, and so that's something that we have to be really careful about. They'll give us just something to get them off their backs, and then a few years later they're back with the same old shit. You know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if there is any kind of legitimate third party movement in the U.S., it'll likely be controlled opposition. I don't know, what the future is in terms of, this country, but we're about to hit a buzzsaw in terms of automation and advanced technology, and, I think it's inevitable that we're going to have some kind of universal basic income in the next 20 years to supplement people as robots take their jobs. And, we want people to become more self-reliant and autonomous, but will waiting for a government check every week let them do that? Or maybe not. Or maybe if people actually have the freedom to become entrepreneurs, if they're not slaving away at some job that makes them miserable 40, 50, 60 hours a week, maybe people will be more free, so it's hard to know what's going to happen. I mean, nothing, the world doesn't change overnight, but it's going to start changing very quickly. And I just finished an article that you'll be seeing soon about Elon Musk's new plan for a brain-machine interface, and it's pretty remarkable what some of the top thinkers are saying are going to be possible in the next 20 to 30 years. And I think, I don't know how it's going to change government. That's what I can't tell with any of these advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, or I still haven't quite figured out how it's going to change the power structure at the top. And but right now, the billionaires are bilking out the last few trillion from oil, and I don't think we're going to see any significant change foreign policy wise until we're not having wars for resources. And unfortunately, the next resource will be water. And, so hopefully technologically, hopefully we'll be at a place where we're not so dependent on oil in the next 20 years. But I mean, I think if everyone really put their all into it, don't you think we could probably live? Don't you think we could probably fuel the world without oil if everyone really tried? I think we probably could. I just think they want to get the rest of the money from it.
Hell yeah, we could, man. I mean, and that's why I've been such a close follower of Elon Musk and what he's doing with Tesla and stuff, and seeing, just kind of the plan unfolding here. We don't need oil anymore. It's just really convenient, and it's really convenient for the consumer, and it's really convenient for the people trying to make money off of us, and it's really convenient for the people trying to control us. and that's why it's the perfect commodity. And that's why we go around the world fighting wars to preserve petrodollar and stuff, because it's just convenient for everybody. But electricity, clean electricity, is obviously the future. I mean, it's, whether it's through hydrogen fuel cell cars, electric cars, and what we covered today on the anti-media, electric flying cars. These are going to be sold by the end of this year. You could buy them from a Google-backed startup called Kitty Hawk. It's called the Kitty Hawk Flyer. It's basically like one of them drones with like the 8 little propellers on it, but you.
Oh, that sounds so awesome.
Yeah, but you fly on it. You sit on it like a motorcycle, and you fly on this thing. They're going to be selling by the end of this year, and then there's a couple of other startups. Where's that other one? It's over in Asia somewhere. Shanghai, I think. There's another pilot program going on in Dubai where they're working on flying passenger drones, vertical takeoff. Basically, it's like an electric plane. It's like a little micro electric plane where it can land and take off vertically. So these technologies are being backed by these huge companies, and they're being brought to market like this year, and so we're gonna have a future where you're not going to be flying around on a gas-powered helicopter. You're going to be flying around in this electric little, it's basically like a supersized version of those little drones you see flying around, and you ride on it like a motorcycle. And this way you can fly straight to and from places instead of right now. When you drive on the roads and you got to go in all these directions, you're not going like from point to point and like in a straight line, taking up way more resources. First of all, you're driving a gas-powered car. Second of all, you're not able to go in a straight line, so you're taking up a bunch of resources. So now what they're about to be coming out with is cars that'll fly, and they're electric, where you don't got to be burning gas. You just have to have solar panels. You plug them in. So we don't need the oil, but it's just so convenient, and so if we really wanted to, tomorrow we could be off this stuff. But it would take sacrifices and innovation, investment, risk, a bunch of things like that I guess are going to have to happen sooner or later anyway. But right now we're just delaying the inevitable with gas, and hopefully it doesn't lead to some kind of stupid crisis that could have been prevented had we listened. And this brings up an interesting conversation, because I know there's a lot of people listening. And a lot of our followers are not fully convinced on the climate change thing and, man-made climate change. Obviously, climate's change, but, the man-made thing. I personally think that, humans are contributing to, there's natural cycles to the climate, and all the stuff, all the activity that we've done over the past couple hundred years since the Industrial Revolution is definitely having an effect. I mean, I don't think...
I'm the biggest conspiracy theorist you'll meet, not the biggest, but I'm a big conspiracy theorist. There's no conspiracy here. It's every body of science in the world has corroborated meticulously each day in every single way the role of human-made carbon emissions in changing the atmosphere. It's not a debate. It's just truth. We just got to move on past that. But I've never heard a compelling argument against it, but look, there's a lot of grand conspiracies out there. Maybe the Earth is flat. Maybe we're living in a simulation. Maybe there's aliens inside the moon. But
maybe the Earth.
Maybe every scientist on Earth is working together to fabricate evidence showing that human carbon emissions are changing the environment. Maybe.
Here's the thing. and this goes for anything. This goes for anything. If there's a conspiracy, sooner or later the truth comes out. Somebody that knows about the conspiracy, is aware of it, or is a part of it, is going to say something, right? And in this case, let's reference like Edward Snowden and, whistleblowers like Chelsea Manning. They come out, they see something is going on, there's something bad happening. Someone somewhere is going to have a conscience, and they're going to come out and they're going to say, okay, something going on. And this is why when people come around and tell me that the earth is flat, I say, okay, well, where's your whistleblower? I mean, if we've been under the assumption that the earth is round, is a globe for like several hundred years now. You'd think between now and several hundred years back, there would have been somebody that was a legit person that was within the community that actually had information on this would have stepped forward. Instead, you got Shaquille O'Neal, as the poster child of the flat Earth theory. So I don't really give that much credence to a Shaq, Twitter post. When there's a big conspiracy, and this goes for any conspiracy, the more people that find out about this, there's actually been mathematical, studies on this. Like, a conspiracy can only be kept secret for so long and between so many people. Like, if it's a conspiracy and it's just two people, well then, maybe there's a good chance that people aren't going to find out. When there's a conspiracy and there's 200 people involved, well, somebody's going to find out about this conspiracy eventually, and so we have to be very careful about conspiracy theories and not allow them to fully change our way of thinking until they're corroborated, and so there's nothing wrong with having a conspiracy theory. There's nothing wrong with it. But until it's been proven, well, then it is what it is. It's a theory. It's something that may be real, and it may not be real too, and so this is the thing that we need to be aware of. And on the global warming front, the climate change front, well, sure, there has been some bad studies. There have been some people who fudge numbers, and this is a very tiny minority of the general consensus that, humans are contributing to the climate.
Yeah, I mean, in every field of work, there's someone who's done something shady in order to try and advance or to finish something up quicker or whatnot. But, a few people maybe, I'm not even aware of what you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, there's invariably a scientist somewhere who did something shady. Does that mean that science is wrong? No. I don't know. I mean, it's
brought up a weird phenomena that I've noticed, and Jake, you may have noticed this as well. But there's been ever since that science march, which was over the weekend, there's been this huge backlash against
totally
against science, and everyone's
anti Bill Nye stuff, yeah,
and I'm like, dude, even the whole science march is some conspiracy and stuff, and it's come on, man, people are out marching because they're trying to vent their frustrations because, first of all, Donald Trump is very unpopular, and second of all, people have been upset in this country for a long time. That's why Bernie Sanders almost beat Hillary Clinton. Against all odds, against the deck being stacked against him, Bernie Sanders almost still beat Hillary Clinton. And the same reason why Trump won is because people in this country are pissed off, and they know that something ain't right. And what better can they do? What more do they know to do, really? Because I know all of those people are not listening to this radio show.
A lot of the anti-science stuff we're seeing in the alternate media ecosphere is, let's be honest, a large amount of it has to do with skepticism over vaccines and that whole issue. That single-handedly makes a lot of people in the, freedom movement or truther movement, different overlapping spheres of activists are, anti-vaccination. And I'm not even going to get into that issue, but that has a lot to do with it. And scientists, a lot of people are viewing science in general as being part of the establishment. And I think that plays into this idea of science being a part of the conspiracy. When anybody who's intelligent understands that science is a vast field of overlapping applications and studies and is, involved in every aspect of our life, in almost every way. So to be anti-science just literally doesn't make any sense. Everything you're doing to express yourself on that, from using Twitter to, just using Twitter is a full embrace of science.
And it's Bill Nye, dude. Like, Bill Nye, of course, isn't the greatest scientist. He's a public figure. He's probably more of an actor than he is a scientist at this point. But in the same way, like, Milo is not a philosopher either. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so by people getting so freaked out about Bill Nye and stuff, and of course he's got that new show on Netflix, I believe.
He's got a close friend of mine is just about to release a documentary on him.
Yeah, and to go off and make Bill Nye into this huge supervillain, and that he's got this huge agenda and stuff, first of all, it's counterproductive, because the more you do that, it's like the whole Trump effect, the Milo effect. The more shit you stir up, the more popular you become. In 2017 America, I mean, this is the new way of getting popularity now, is just by offending people and then getting the other half of people to defend you. And you build this kind of psychological effect where people are like they become your loyal followers because they're constantly just defending you. I mean, at that point, it's like this weird psychological effect where Trump's supporters refuse to jump off the Trump bandwagon because they're too busy defending his stupid shit that he says and that he does. It's like, oh no, this is what he actually meant. And so he builds you into this, like, I think Trump has mobilized like a huge contingent of people who are like, they feel like victimized white people, I guess.
Yeah.
But that kind of identity, social media, I don't know how to say this because it's kind of a brand new phenomenon here. The new way of getting popularity is by kind of making yourself the victim, and then getting people to defend you from your critics. It's this weird thing, and Trump, running on fear and all that stuff. Part of this is what got him elected, but we're seeing it with Bill Nye, we're seeing it with Milo, we're seeing it with all these like super polarizing figures, where they build up these cult personalities, these cult followings, by being polarizing. Like it's the weirdest phenomenon going on. But I think we're going to see it at least for a little while longer, a couple more years. We're going to see this happening, and the Tommy Lorenz of the world and all these provocateurs. What's her name? Ann Coulter. She's the one stirring up shit in Berkeley right now.
She canceled her speech though.
Probably a smart thing.
Yeah. Another quick point with Bill Nye is another reason people have been so pissed off at him is that he kind of supported Monsanto a couple of years back. And already lent his support to GMOs and Monsanto. And so a lot of people, myself included, weren't too happy about that. But yeah, I mean, in general, there's a lot of issues. We'll end on that. There's a lot of issues.
Thank you all for tuning in. I think radio will be back.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.
Anti-Media Radio with Levon.